Hey guys, this is Pake with Bakcou e-bikes. Today we're going to show you 4 easy maintenance tips to keep your bike dialed in. Let's get to it. A common problem with bikes in general is squeaky or loud brakes. So the first thing to fix that is you want to make sure that your caliper is adjusted properly and that the pads aren't touching the rotor on either side. So to do that, there's a top and a bottom mounting bolt. On our bikes, they're 5mm. So you're gonna grab a 5mm in there and just loosen these up. Now you can reach up and grab your brake handle and pull it tight and put some pressure on that brake. Now you can just tighten these mounting bolts back, and that'll help you make sure the caliper is aligned properly. So now that you've got those tightened in, you'll just look down the caliper and the rotor and squeeze it a couple times and just make sure that the rotor isn't getting pulled each way. If aligning the brakes doesn't fix the problem, the pads or the rotor could be compromised and they might have oil or dirt on them. So another tip would be to use some resurfacing paste. Can bring that pad or that rotor back to its original form. All you do is you just take a little bit of this, about the size of the pad itself, and just spread it real thin on either side. You do one at a time because it'll slow down your braking ability. You won't be able to brake as well. And you do about 10 full stops with it, and then you wipe it off with a clean rag. And once you wipe it off, that brake should come back to life. If the resurfacing paste doesn't fix the braking problem, it probably means you have a bunch of oil or dirt built up on your pads. There's also, it's called glassing the pads, where the pads get super smooth because they get really hot. So if something like that happens, you can see the discoloration in the pad. They'll be much darker and kind of shiny. So a lot of times what you can do is you can take a piece of sandpaper. This is 320 grit that we have here. You can use up to 80 grit. And you just sit it down on a table and then wipe the pad on it like this. And it'll take that top layer off, and you'll see that the gray color will come back and it'll look tacky and kind of rough. And that's how you know you've took enough layer off. So you can do that with both pads. And then also you can take the rotor completely off the bike and do the same thing. Set the rotor down, rub the sandpaper over it, make it all shiny and new again. And that can take the oil and the dirt off of those pads and rotors and bring them back to full braking power. Our next tip is how to maintain your battery and keep the life of your battery the best it can be. The first thing is you want to store this in somewhere that's around 70 degrees in the winter. You don't want to let it sit in your garage or in your shed or outside on the bike in the winter. We want it to be warm. So if your garage is climate controlled, you can put it in there or bring it in your house. That's probably the most important step, is to keep it warm in the winter while you're not riding. Our next tip is you want to keep this battery between 30 and 80% as you're charging it. So that way that the cells are in a comfortable position that are in this battery. So 30 to 80%, and just kind of monitor it, throw it on the bike every once in a while, make sure you're between that, and your battery life will be much better. Our next tip is a barrel adjustment. So a lot of times when your derailleur gets out of tune, it's just because the cable is stretched out or moved or something like that, and your bike just needs a barrel adjustment to be fixed. On this bike right here, it's shifting not so well towards 11th gear. Like, it's not even moving down, jumping a couple. So to fix that, we're gonna give it a barrel adjustment. The way that they work is you're gonna put more tension or less tension on the cable itself. So in this case, we have a cable that's way too tight. And so in this case, we're gonna tighten our barrel adjustment or turn it clockwise. That's gonna take tension out of the cable and allow us to shift towards 11th gear better. Before I even start pedaling here, I'm gonna give this like 2 turns, just because I know it's really out of adjustment. You wanna start with quarter turns or half turns at a time. So we can see on that run, we were a lot better. It's still a little slow, but each time we clicked, it moved down a gear. So we'll give it some more adjustment. That looked pretty good there. It was still slapping or coming down a little hard in like 9th through 11th. So I'm gonna give it just a quarter or a half turn more of an adjustment. And that fixed that up there. So you wanna make sure that you don't over adjust it, then you'll create the opposite problem. But right there, we were able to get it to shift towards 11th much better, and it still shifted back up to first, the same as it did before. Our next tip is if you have a flat tire or a slow leaking tire, we can put our Bakcou Flat-Out in there. It's a Kevlar based tire sealant, and it does a really good job at sealing up tires. And honestly, as a mechanic, I wouldn't ride a bike without Flat-Out in it or our Tannis liner in there. They just do a really good job at repelling flats. So to start this, you'll get your Flat-Out bottle. You get a valve stem remover, and you're gonna take your Schrader valve out of your tube. So you just get that in there, and then you'll just loosen this. You need to let all the air out of the tire. So I'm gonna let all the air out of this tire. Okay, so now we have all the air out of the tire. We'll take our Flat-Out bottle here. It has a little tube that has a little cap in it, so you'll just take this cap out. And then this tube right here goes straight onto your Schrader valve that you just took that valve out of. And then now that you have it on there, you wanna do this with the tire parallel to the ground, so that way none of it comes out when you're doing it. And you just squeeze it in there, and you squeeze about a quarter or half of the bottle in there, depending on how much you want to use. I normally use about a quarter of it. Now that we've got our Flat-Out added, we'll just put the Schrader valve back in and then add air back into the tire. And then you want to go for a ride and let it spin around. You don't want to let it sit right away, and that will kind of spread it all through the tube. And then after that, you're good, and the bike's ready to be ridden again. Thank you guys for watching this quick tip video. If you have any other recommendations for maintenance videos or any other tips you'd like to see, comment them down below or reach us through our phone number or email on our Bakcou website. Thanks for watching.
If you have any questions about maintenance on your bike, whether it's a Bakcou bike, different brand of bike, it really doesn't matter. Make sure to check out our Elite Maintenance Package. It's the package that all of our experts recommend getting for maintenance on your bike. If you want to check out what's in that package, you can click right here. And currently this package is only available to our Summit members who sign up for our Bakcou Elite membership. If you want to check that out, you can check it out and sign up right here. And we appreciate all of your support. Make sure to subscribe to our Bakcou YouTube channel. You can do that right here or down below.